It was a typical Friday night when Emily, my wife of 10 years, announced that she was heading out to a party with some old friends from university. As she excitedly put on her favorite dress, she looked radiant, just like she had all those years ago when we first met. The glow she had was undeniable, the same glow I had fallen in love with back then. We had gotten used to these little incidents, the nights when she would go out with friends, the times when she would return later than expected. It had become part of our daily routine, and over the years, I had learned to trust her implicitly. When she kissed me goodbye, I smiled and wished her a good time. "Don't wait up for me," she said with a grin before walking out the door. I had no reason to think otherwise. I trust her. Why wouldn't I? At first, I didn't give it much thought. I settled down on the couch, grabbed a beer, and began watching a movie to pass the time. It wasn't a big deal. Emily had every right to go out and enjoy herself. But as the hours passed, I began to feel something creeping up inside me, something I hadn't expected. It wasn't an overwhelming feeling of doubt, but rather a subtle unease that seemed to tug at the back of my mind. It wasn't like her not to post anything on Instagram when she was out, especially on a night when she was looking as beautiful as she had tonight. Normally, she would share photos or at least post something about her outing, but there was nothing. No check-ins, no updates, no quick stories. The silence started to gnaw at me. I told myself not to overthink it, that she was just enjoying the night, and that maybe she didn't feel like sharing anything. Still, the feeling lingered. I tried to ignore it. I told myself to relax, to enjoy my beer and the movie. But as the night wore on, the feeling of unease only grew stronger. By 1:30 a.m., there was still no word from Emily, no text, no call. It wasn't like her. The pit in my stomach started to churn, a dull ache that wouldn't go away. That's when something shifted inside me. Without really thinking about it, I opened our shared phone account. I hadn't done it before, and I had no reason to believe she was hiding anything from me. But tonight, something felt off, and I couldn't shake the nagging sensation that there was more to the story. I felt wrong about it, as though I was betraying her trust, but the need to know what was really going on overpowered that hesitation. I opened the text message history. Her phone was connected to our account, and I had access to the conversations. As soon as I glanced at the screen, something caught my eye. Ryan's name. It kept popping up, a frequent presence in the message history. I froze for a moment. Ryan wasn't an old friend of hers from university. I knew that much. This was someone new, someone she had met online, someone she had been texting for a while. My heart began to race. I couldn't stop myself. I kept scrolling. The more I read, the clearer the picture became. The messages between Emily and Ryan weren't overtly sexual, but they were flirtatious, intimate in a way that made me feel sick to my stomach. Words like, "I can't wait to see you tonight," jumped out at me, each one a punch to my gut. They joked about sharing personal details about how they both couldn't wait to meet each other. My mind reeled. Emily, the woman I had loved and trusted for over a decade, was cheating on me. I was sitting at home like an idiot while she was out with another man. I felt a coldness settle over me, the shock of it all paralyzing me for a moment. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not to us. It was around 3:30 a.m. when I heard the faint sound of high heels clicking softly on the hardwood floor. Emily had returned. She tried to sneak in quietly, but the sound of her heels echoed through the house, and I could tell she was trying to be stealthy, like she didn't want to wake me. I heard her voice, soft, but surprised. "You're still awake?" she asked. I was calm. Too calm. "Yes," I said, trying to sound casual. I felt a dull ache in my chest, but I kept my voice steady. "How was the party?" For a moment she hesitated, just long enough for me to notice. She was avoiding my gaze, busy taking off her shoes and placing them neatly by the door. The subtle avoidance made my stomach tighten. I pressed on, asking, "Who was there?" As if I didn't already know the answer. She responded too quickly, too defensively. Just a few old friends. You wouldn't know them. I knew she was lying. I knew who was there. There had been only one person with her, Ryan. And that knowledge twisted something inside me, something dark and furious. But I didn't confront her then. No, I needed more proof. I wouldn't act on mere suspicion. I wanted the facts, every detail, every piece of the puzzle. The next few days were filled with quiet tension. I observed Emily carefully, pretending everything was normal. I didn't confront her. I wasn't ready to do that yet. Instead, I began to dig deeper. I went through her phone, her social media accounts, anything that could give me more information. Slowly, I pieced together their story. They had met online, through a mutual friend of a friend. At first, their conversations had been innocent enough, just casual chatter. But over time, their messages had grown more personal, more intimate. And as I read their conversations, it became clear. They had been seeing each other behind my back for weeks. One night, while Emily was in the shower, I got my hands on the final piece of evidence. It was a photo sent by Ryan of them together at a party. His arm was around her waist, her head resting on his shoulder, both of them smiling. The image was clear. This wasn't just friendship. They were more than that. My blood boiled. I stared at the screen, the anger rising within me like a storm. But there was something else, something cold and calculating. This wasn't just about confronting her. It wasn't just about an apology. No, this betrayal required something more, something that would leave a mark, something that would make her feel the full weight of her actions. I began to plan my revenge, methodically and carefully. Confronting Emily directly was out of the question. That would be too easy. I needed something that would hit her harder, something that would make her truly understand the gravity of what she had done. I couldn't let her think she could get away with it. So, I began tracking Ryan. I found his social media accounts, his workplace, even his private email. It wasn't hard. People are careless, especially when they think they're untouchable. I created a fake identity, someone who seemed like a mutual friend of Emily's. I used this new persona to get close to Ryan. We started chatting online, building a relationship, gaining his trust. He had no idea who I really was. Meanwhile, I installed hidden cameras in the house. I recorded everything, every text message Emily sent to Ryan, every phone conversation, every secret meeting. I wasn't just collecting evidence for a confrontation. No, I was gathering something more dangerous. Something that would leave both Emily and Ryan devastated. The day finally came. Emily told me she was going out for coffee with a friend. I knew she was actually meeting Ryan, but this time I wasn't sitting at home, waiting. No, I had already completed the final step of my plan. I uploaded a video, carefully edited, meticulously crafted, that told the story of a woman who betrayed her husband with a man who thought he could steal someone else's wife. I posted it anonymously on a popular social media platform, packaging it as a social experiment. The video quickly gained traction. As Emily returned home that night, the internet had already exploded. She had no idea what was waiting for her. Her phone kept beeping with notifications. It buzzed and vibrated as she unlocked and locked it, her face paling as she realized what had happened. She was too late. The world now knew her secret. I stood in the doorway, silently watching as Emily's expression shifted from confusion to shock. Her phone continued to beep with incoming messages, the constant buzz almost like a countdown to her inevitable realization. She stared at the screen, her hands trembling as she unlocked it, and then her eyes widened, the color draining from her face. Her breath caught in her throat as she looked up at me, the truth starting to sink in. "What is this?" she stammered, her voice barely a whisper, full of disbelief. She was caught off guard, the weight of what had happened hitting her all at once. "Did you do this?" I didn't answer immediately. There was no need for words. My silence was the answer. I watched her crumble, her shoulders slumping as the tears welled up in her eyes. She reached for me, but I didn't move. I stayed still, my mind sharp, every ounce of anger and betrayal that had built up over the past few days now fully realized. Her face was pale, her eyes brimming with regret, but it was too late for apologies. The damage had already been done, and there was no going back. I couldn't bring myself to feel any sympathy. Not now. Not after everything she had put me through. All the lies, all the hidden messages, all the secret meetings with Ryan. She had thrown away everything we had built over the last decade. And for what? A moment of selfishness. A fleeting escape. I wasn't going to let her get away with it, not without consequences. "Did you really think you could get away with this?" I asked, my voice cold, every word calculated and deliberate. "Did you really think you could betray me and keep it a secret? That I wouldn't find out?" She shook her head, her sobs now more pronounced. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I never meant for it to go this far. I never meant to hurt you. Please, just forgive me. Please, I love you." I felt nothing. No sympathy, no compassion. She had destroyed everything, and now she wanted forgiveness? The irony was sickening. She had thrown away everything we had, and now she was begging for the one thing she didn't deserve: my forgiveness. I was done. The man I had been was no longer here. "I don't want your apology," I said flatly. "It's too late for that." Emily's sobs grew louder as she fell to her knees in front of me, clutching at my legs, her face stained with tears. She begged, pleaded, telling me how much she regretted her actions, how she was confused, how she never intended for things to spiral out of control. But none of it mattered anymore. The trust was shattered, and there was no repairing what had been broken. Meanwhile, her phone continued to buzz with notifications. She unlocked it again, and I saw the panic in her eyes as she scrolled through the flood of messages. Her social media accounts were flooded with hateful comments. People she had considered friends had turned on her, each message more venomous than the last. They called her a liar, a cheater, a homewrecker. Her once pristine online image was now a public spectacle, and there was no hiding from the truth. The video I had posted went viral. The story of her betrayal, her affair with Ryan, had become a spectacle for everyone to see. The video had been carefully crafted, showing not just her lies but the complete disregard she had for our marriage. It was brutal, but it was the justice I needed. She couldn't escape it. She couldn't delete it. It was out there, and the whole world had seen her for who she truly was. "Please," Emily begged, her voice trembling. "I'll do anything. I'll change. Just don't do this to me. Please, take it down. Take everything down." I shook my head slowly, a sense of satisfaction settling over me. She had no idea the extent to which I had gone to make sure this betrayal was exposed. I wasn't going to undo what I had done. Not for her, not for anyone. She had crossed a line, and now she had to pay the price. "I'm not going to take it down," I said, my voice firm. "You wanted to play with fire, Emily. Now you've burned everything down." The tears continued to flow as she scrambled to her feet, her eyes darting from me to her phone to the comments flooding her screen. She was a pariah. Her reputation was ruined. Her friends were gone, her family distanced themselves from her, and now she had to face the consequences of her actions. But it wasn't just Emily who would suffer. Ryan's life had been torn apart as well. The video had included his name, his image, everything. He had thought he could come into my life, steal my wife, and walk away without consequences. He was wrong. And now, his reputation, too, was in tatters. He had no idea what had hit him. I had made sure of it. I watched as Emily's tears slowed, her breath becoming shallow as she realized just how far-reaching the consequences of her actions were. She had thought she could keep this a secret, thought she could keep me in the dark while she played her games. But the world was now watching her crumble. and there was nothing she could do to stop it. I turned and began to walk away. There was nothing left to say. No need for further confrontation. I had already done what I came here to do. Emily could cry, she could beg, but it didn't matter. I had already made my point. I had already taken what mattered most: her dignity, her reputation, and her trust. "Where are you going?" she cried, her voice breaking through the haze of my thoughts. "Please don't leave. Please don't leave me." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. There was nothing left between us. I had nothing to say to her anymore. I had been patient. I had trusted her, and she had betrayed me in the worst way possible. There was no coming back from this. No matter how much she begged, no matter how much she cried, it was over. I packed my bags in silence, the sound of her sobs echoing through the house. I didn't look back. I couldn't. It wasn't because I didn't care. It was because I cared too much. I had loved her. I had given her everything, and she had thrown it all away for someone else. She didn't deserve my love anymore. As I walked out the door, I could hear her calling my name, but I didn't turn around. I didn't need to. The silence of the house spoke louder than any words could. It was a silence that spoke of finality, of the end of a chapter that could never be rewritten. I didn't look back as I drove away, leaving her in the wreckage of her own making. The last 10 years of my life had been shattered in an instant, but I wasn't going to let her have the satisfaction of seeing me break. I was done. And as much as it hurt, I knew it was the right thing to do. In the days that followed, Emily tried to reach out to me. She sent countless messages, each one more desperate than the last. She tried to apologize, to explain, to beg for another chance. But there was nothing left for her to say. She had made her bed, and now she had to lie in it. I never responded. And as for Ryan, he vanished from the online world, his social media accounts wiped clean. He had thought he could get away with it, that he could slip into my life unnoticed. But I had made sure that he felt the sting of his actions. He had gotten away with it for a while, but not anymore. In the end, both Emily and Ryan were left to pick up the pieces of their lives. But their reputations were forever damaged. The world had seen who they truly were, and there was no going back from that. As for me, I moved on. The hurt was still there, but I was stronger now. I had taken control of my life again, and I wasn't going to let anyone, least of all Emily, take that away from me. My revenge had been swift, calculated, and precise, and it had given me the closure I needed. The silence between us would be the last thing she would ever hear from me.